Hey everyone, and welcome to TechVoices. I'm your host Olga Nedelcu, and today we are joined by Ingo Eichhorst, a former CTO, solution architect, project manager, and software engineer based in Germany, Berlin. He'll tell us how he got into tech, how he made the transition from project manager to software engineer, and how he eventually ended up as a CTO. We'll also get to hear his perspectives on AI. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us more a bit about why you got into tech?
I started very, very early with technology, so to say. Like we had the border in Berlin and dividing East and West Germany. So I was growing up in East Germany, and my father, he was always like very like electronic technical. So he was seeing like what was coming in the 80s when they couldn't touch things, and then in the 90s he organized a computer for me. Back then was Commodore 64, and so with this I learned how to load a game from a floppy disk and how to play it. So that was the fun part. But then I kind of also learned how to develop my own small text adventures, and that's what I did like while I was younger. Then like we did some courses together around like HTML and those things, but like that was evolving technology in the 90s. Like we have it today with generative AI and maybe blockchain still. It's like it's not, we're not there yet. Like it's not really applied widely, but you feel like there's something coming. And that was the feeling in the 90s. And then like we founded a very, very small company. He was responsible for hardware stuff, and I was responsible for software stuff. And we like moved around and tried to fix things from his friends and colleagues that others couldn't. For example, I'm there's one story I always like to tell, because we were in a factory and they wanted to change the drivers from the printers from A4 to the A4 size to the smaller one, A5, and they couldn't do it because it was important for their internet process, and they couldn't. No one could do it. And I got like a very big manual from those printers and everything, and and he was like trying it out, couldn't understand because everything was English. And I was like scanning through the documentation and then eventually figured out how to do this. And he was like already drunken, sitting in the corner, talking to like everyone lost hope. And I figured it out at the end. So that was really one of the great experiences in my early tech life, I would say. Um, and then I did like my A level was focusing on informatics as well. So I was pretty deep into those topics. And then I decided, okay, I don't want to end like Neo in the movie Matrix, because there was like end of the 90s, and that was exactly what I was seeing. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not exactly where I want to end up. And back then there was this like archetype of a developer sitting in the basement, having no friends and no family. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should try something else. And so I went to university, did business administrations for 4 years, met my wife there. And then after this, I did, that was still diploma in Germany. And then they changed everything to bachelor and master in Germany as well. And then I did, like, next to the job, I did my master thesis. And next to the master thesis, I worked as a project manager. And after I was done with the thesis, I perceived that's like I have lost traction on the tech topics, and I was leading tech teams, or at least I was project manager for tech teams. I lost a little bit traction, and they were like telling me about stuff I couldn't understand. Like before we can do the release, we have to merge the branch first. And I was like, okay, I don't know. It just feels like strange, but I have no idea. And so I was in the perception I have to learn a little bit more about those topics. And so I spent 5 years of my life, next 5 years, 1 hour every day to learn about like tech topics. I didn't know how to start, so I thought, okay, there's other people that did it before, and I downloaded curriculars from universities, how to do it, how to learn web development, and then just looked up courses that I could do. And back then, massive open online courses were around the corner, or just like starting to be a big thing. A lot of like well-known or universities like Harvard and Stanford that did courses, and so I applied for them. And eventually I became better and better, and started like when I had discussions with developers, then I was always like more confident in those discussions, and I also did know things, started to know things, and that was helpful. And then I got my first developer job, and then after several years I was like again in a leadership role as a CTO. I would say that at least for me it was like 90% of the work, because that really like bothered me and made me sick in a way as well.
Yeah, no one likes when things are going wrong. So
Exactly, and you lose control if you're in a project manager role. So I was like steering right towards a burnout, and and it was really a hard time. So I couldn't like wake up on the weekends, so only per weekday, and I had like a small kid and wife, and so it's very. And that was only because I lost completely control on work, or because some projects ran out of time and like things didn't play out, and I couldn't control it by just forcing things, and that was hard. And that my strategy to deal with it was kind of learning IT myself, so I could do things on my own. So that was the way I've taken it. So that was helpful for me. I mean, it's for everyone, it's different. That was helpful for me, and now I can always say, okay, I can do it. Maybe it takes more time, but I can do it, and that was the right approach for challenge or like getting through this hard time of my life for me. But I completely know, and it's not a wise advice for everyone, because it's like for everyone different. But it's I mean, what you can take out of it, there's challenging times for everyone, and you only see like if you deal with people, you only see like the surface, and that's true for social media and everything that you see of others. But others struggle as well. They have a hard time as well. So life is not easy. I think with everything that you do, if you find yourself in a position where you can be beneficial for other people, then that's always a good starting point to learn something, to get better in something. And there's so much. I mean, I think that's true for everything that you do. I mean, you need to have some like startup passion for it, which I definitely had. But then also there was the fact that I got applause for things I did, and that was definitely helpful to keep me motivated, learning more and more, and getting deeper into those topics.
And could you display for us your career path? Because you said like you started as a project manager and then you switched on to development. How was that, and how long did it take you to make that change?
I mean, having the basic knowledge to start in a software development job, that's maybe, I mean, I had like some previous knowledge, so maybe it's not applicable for everyone. And I did know about like how to structure a program, how to build those things from my like previous life, like 8 years ago. So that was definitely helpful. So you need to have those basics, but I would say that's like one, maybe two courses away to gain those knowledge. And then maybe a little bit more knowledge on the field, like the development language you want to go in, or like if you want to do DevOps, learning about cloud and machine learning mass itself, and how to clean up data and prepare everything. I think to have enough of this knowledge to start on your first job as a junior, that's only like 2 courses, 3 courses, maybe 4 courses away. So I think like after 1 year, really like intense looking into those things, maybe doing some projects, some smaller projects, and learn by touching things and handling them. You should be well set up to hit the workforce, or whatever is the right phrase for it. Yeah.
LinkedIn. You were a technical account manager for clients like Telefonica and Warner Bros. Or Disney. What skills were crucial for you to manage such high profiles? And could you tell us more about like what is like working with these kind of big names?
It's nice because I think like really the way I perceived it, it's all around humans. I mean, no question. Like enterprise company has different culture and different requirements than a smaller company. I mean, if you work with enterprises or banks, for example, that's like probably the heaviest thing you can do. You have like a whole stack on regulations, standards, and stuff you have to run through before you can release anything. It's completely different from a startup that says, okay, just release it and then we will figure it out. Like move things, break fast. You can't do this in a bank. So there's like some difference in the requirements, and that's reflected also in the culture of the people. But in the end, it's all humans, and most of them, they don't know what they're doing and try to figure things out as they go. So everyone is doing this. Like it just feels like people with more experience, like know a little bit what not to do. Maybe they know a little bit more what not to do, but they still don't know what to do. So they have to figure it out with every new task and every new opportunity. And second, it's all humans. So I mean, just you have to understand their perspective, understand what they need, and it's moving in the right direction.
Let's take a few steps back and look into how you got that technical account manager role. How did you ended up there?
Yeah, that was actually it's actually a funny story because when I was first working as a project manager for NGOs, for UNICEF, for example, and other NGOs in Germany, and I had a project and I was running out the project. It was with people with disabilities. It was great. It was rewarding. Also, I felt like a little bit I don't have like touch to the project itself. Like I couldn't drive it in a way I would like to. And then my wife and I, back then she was not my wife, but my girlfriend and I, we decided to go for a couple of months to New Zealand and have to travel and work there. So that's what we did. And that was actually the final test before marriage.
Wow.
So then we returned and got married pretty soon. But before we got married, I started a new job and I was just looking around what's possible and found a small company in the city I lived in, which was Halle. And there was Nautilus. The Nautilus was just around the corner. It was 5 minutes by foot to get there. And like by accident, I found their announcement in the internet and applied there and started as a license manager, which was easy. Then I was content QA person, checking that everything was correct. And we were working in the video streaming business, which was back in 2010, still a very early field. I mean, there was no like Netflix or anything in Germany. So we built our own like little Netflix, you could say. But I was not like perceiving it from the technical perspective back then, more from like the organizational perspective. And then after, I don't know, like 9 months or something, there was an open position for project manager. I had previous knowledge in project management, so I became project manager in this company. And then things, as always, got a little bit crazy. We were like bought by a US company. And then later on, we had a buyout again. And throughout this process, I was always like, when a position was open, I was like there to fulfill it. And it was like kind of matching with my skill set again. And so it was like, yeah, climbing up the corporate ladder, you could say, even if it was more like a startup than a corporate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
You really seek the opportunity and grab it.
Yeah. I think that's kind of if you work towards your goal and improve yourself, then you will see opportunities everywhere, and just have to select the right one.
So would you say you always had in mind this manager position as an end goal?
Good question. I wouldn't say it was an end goal, because I was always very happy in the technical, just do it position. I like this, like being alone with my thoughts as well, and just planning things out and then like building it in software. But yeah, I mean, there was the opportunity, and I'm more like the jack of all trades kind of person. So I could do it. I was interested, and then I was just like accepting this role. And I would say my biggest weakness is that I get bored pretty soon. So I also need this like shift of environments and challenges along the way. So I think it was like perfect, but it can only be perfect if you're prepared for the next step.
And what kept you going? Because there are a lot of people that are going, okay, I want to be a manager and that's my goal, not like I need a change of environment. But what would you say was that thing that motivated you, that end goal, big goal?
Yeah, I mean, back then I wouldn't actually say I had a big goal. I really wanted to like have the family being safe and well fed and everything, and we built a house and like established like the family, and everything was growing. Like I have 2 kids and my wife, and so that was challenging. Also, me, still the European dream resonates a lot. Like my kids should have better life than I had. So back then it was only like doing something that's fun for me, which was IT and software development, and like getting around with everything. And I would say having this like broader picture and broader goal in life that came later, because I like throughout my career I've seen a lot of software that wasn't developed in a very quality way. I mean, there was better developers and worse developers, and today, I mean, we will get there later, but today I see the shift towards like machine learning and everything, and I feel like also they have, like in machine learning, we have the same, and data, we have the same or similar challenges that we have with like classical software that's built on algorithms and data structures. And so yeah, that's maybe not completely addressed, and I would really like to address it, and that's kind of like my broader goal. So it's not like I want to be manager of some company. The goal is like something that's more like, I mean, maybe useful for society, and whatever makes sense to get there, I think I can do it. Yeah. And if it's a leadership role, then it's a leadership role. If it's a techie role, then that's fine as well. So I'm not that. I'm trying to not play the status game that much anymore.
And what mindset has helped you adapt and thrive through changes in the tech industry, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, I mean, I really love this lifelong learning approach. That can be also a burden sometimes, because I mean, then you have to do it. If you start the journey, you really have to like stick to the plan, and like every other day or something have to like sit down and learn things, even if it's nice weather outside and you want to have barbecue with your friends. Yeah, then sometimes it's really a burden. But I like this a lot, and I also always want to feel like have to I I have to bring something to the table when I'm in the discussion, and that's, yeah, if you know the newest tool or new tools, new developments, then that's definitely helpful. So yeah, I mean, walking through changes as we see it today, for example, I mean that's a whole change. It's not only like a couple of new tools; it's a whole change of our mindset and how we approach things, and just continue learning.
Which is fun as well.
The world is changing in a way with like a lot of new exciting possibilities. It's like, but that's kind of, there's, maybe I can tell another story. When I was like, before I was moving into like my first IT learning strategy career and building this curriculum, I had a colleague, and he was administrator in the company I worked with. And I was like, okay, I feel like I should know more about IT. Can't we just sit together and you teach me a little bit about it? I get better over time. And he was like, no, it's like, I don't get your point. What do you want to do? I mean, go to university. There's people that educate, but actually you're too old for university, so don't try to do it at all. And I was like really, really pissed and really disappointed after I talked about it, because it was like I was like opening my heart, and then I got like bombarded with counter arguments, and it took me like a couple of weeks to get over it, and then I just did it anyway without him. And I should have done it much earlier, actually, like looking back, and that was perfect. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's better to follow your heart than to listen to others.
I wrote an article about your career change in Medium called Learn to Code as a Technology Manager, or the subtle art of becoming the next leader. You mentioned feeling uneducated, and you talked about this. How does that realization, and it's quite hard, no, to sit with yourself and say, hey, maybe I'm lacking some technical knowledge, or maybe something is wrong. How did that impact your career path?
Yeah, I mean, that's the story that we had already. I mean, it really, maybe we can like elaborate a little bit on the fact to understand and to embrace the fact that you don't know everything.
And the final question would be like, how would you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Yeah, alongside with the general development in the technology field that I see, maybe I have to elaborate a little bit on this. I read an article now that I got deeper into artificial intelligence. I read an article from Andre Karpathy. He was director of artificial intelligence at Tesla and OpenAI. And in 2017, so the year when the transformer architecture was also figured out, he wrote an article that we're like moving away from software 1.0 to software 2.0. And what he means with software 2.0 is moving away from classical algorithms, data structures, and everything is like exactly as you write it down, because you write the rules for the computer down what to do. It's moving away from this, and it's more capturing the complex world, society, everything in this model, as we know it from a large language model. It's speech based and trained with all data in the internet. And for him, it was a car model that got like sensoric information from around the car, which is mostly cameras these days, and put it into acceleration, deceleration, and steering left, right, or straight. And getting this output from the model, he perceived like, and at first Tesla was extremely like software 1.0 code. So just like, okay, look, is this a stop sign? If there's a stop sign, then slowly decelerate until you end up at the white line. And then we figure out, okay, what to do when there's no white line. There's like maybe no line at all, or there's a yellow line, and then things get tricky, right? So complex, or like the environment was so complex, so you couldn't put it into software 1.0, or you could, but like it would be an insanely big program, extremely hard to maintain, because it would always change, evolve over time, and you have to work on all these things. And the answer to this complex environment is a machine learning model, which can then, with reinforcement learning, just evolve and get better and better over time. And it like takes away the complexity from the outside world, and puts all this complexity in the weights and biases in the neural net. And I think that's genius approach, and that resonated a lot with me as I like learned more about artificial intelligence. And, and I think that thinking, that way of approaching problems, is not widely adopted. As I said before, the first time I came around AI was in 2016. I did a tutorial on how to develop your color picker, how to develop websites. And basically, select foreground color and background color. That's selected. And we did network sorted which foreground color applies to black and which is white. And that was 2016, so something you could pick. And this runs in your browser, and that's perfect. And I haven't seen anyone applying those things to a website. Like, no one thinks of it, but I think that's the way it goes. And to capture this in like code is extremely hard. And capturing this in a model is actually extremely easy. The tooling around it is not very good. You would now say, okay, how do I train those models? So, I mean, you do it in code, but you maybe don't know exactly. So there's no good abstraction layers for it. There's no very nice UI around it. So there's a lot of things that need to evolve and to be developed around it. And my role in it is maybe some of those tools, but what I want to achieve is actually having an environment, maybe standards, regulations, I don't know, maybe I'm writing a book about it, maybe I'm doing like podcasts or video casts, I don't know, like spread the word how to develop high quality software 2.0, and like also the learnings from others, put it into this like kind of knowledge base. But I mean, this idea is very early, so, as you see. So I have to come up with a good plan then and good execution. And around this, it's like I'm looking for a good environment to having software that improves over time, and can be applied to real world problems where it's helpful, but on the other hand side, it's not harmful, and it's secure, it's scalable. That's all this.
Sounds really exciting and really helpful as well.
Sure. It's like a book, and that's like the idea is good, but it's still software 1.0 idea. And I think with software 2.0, we can have an evolutionary architecture based on like all the inputs, all the learnings that the program itself does. And we kind of do this already, but we don't call it evolutionary architecture. And there's no like evolutionary architecture 2.0 book yet.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna make the
Yeah.
one?
Let's see. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, there's so much like to break it down to one sentence. There's so much to discover with artificial intelligence, so much to do, and so much to figure out, and maybe also to get right in order to not like having harmful output. I call it always like net positive output, because there will be something harmful. There's new technology, there's always something beneficial, and others use it for something not so good. But if we have a technology with artificial intelligence that can bring us into like society, living as a humanity in a way that's more aligned with nature, that's more with our like actual needs, and how we actually want to live, that would be very, very beneficial. And I mean, there's also talks around like longevity and other like a lot of fields like climate change, a lot of things where artificial intelligence, as I said, can help with. So maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's just like doing consulting in the field. So not completely decided. Still pretty young also for me.
True. I mean, let's let the future speak for itself at the end. Thank you so much for coming and giving us your time and your expertise. And I'm sure this is and people see a new perspective in the field.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.